We have Nitya Shanti ji again amongst us. He has created a special 1-hour workshop for all Ludhiana Flow ladies. The topic of today's conversation is reimagining our relationship with money. Well, those who have already attended his last workshop, I'm sure you're already anticipating some great learning. And those who are joining us today for the first time, trust me, ladies, you won't be disappointed. So ladies, whether you're a housewife or a professional, let us travel this journey together. Let us redefine our relationship with money and let us make the maximum out of this opportunity. So now I would like to invite our esteemed chairperson, Mrs. Radhika Gupta, to carry on with the event ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Hina. A very good evening to my dear Flow family. I hope all your loved ones are safe and healthy. Welcome to our workshop today. I assure you all that the benefits of this course will extend far beyond money. We will start having reverence and we will be grateful for everything in our lives. Arigato is thank you in Japanese. And the secret is you show gratitude to money coming in and to money going out. Arigato in, arigato out. The aim of this course is to heal, energize, and transform our relationship with money in all its forms. To be able to see money as a great teacher, as an energy of blessing, and to see ourselves as wide open channels for these blessings. So, without further ado, I'd like to call upon our very dynamic chairperson, Mrs. Nandita Bhaskar, to come and take this conversation ahead. Over to you, Nandita.
Thank you, Radhika. Namaste, Nitya ji, and a very good evening, dear friends. It is my absolute honor and privilege to be in conversation with you, Nitya ji. Arigato. Our today's topic, reimagining our relationship with money, had me thinking that each person's financial journey and thoughts are ever evolving, primarily based on new challenges, opportunities, fears, a feeling of lack, peer pressure, sometimes abundance, and whether we are in excellent financial shape or otherwise, there are always questions pertaining to money. Particularly today, when society's modern fascination with money and luxury living has spawned across television shows, lyrics, celebrating the wealthy, awards, recognition, and all of that, it gets deeply embedded in our collective consciousness, thus making it the new norm. How is it then, Nitya, can we reimagine our relationship with money?
All right. Thank you, Nandita. Lovely to be here. Thank you, Radhika. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We had a meeting not too long back. Some of you were there. I can see your faces. Good to be back. The danger with joining early is you get to see all these nice ads of nice nuts and nice other delicacies. You start feeling hungry before you even start. So Nandita was wondering, how do we get people in? So there are 3 ways to get people into a program. One is you talk about money. One is you talk about relationships. And one is you talk about weight loss or health. And immediately everybody will come. So these are the time-tested ways to get anybody into a program. If you say, let's talk about meditation, spirituality, less than half of you would come. But the moment you say, let's talk about money, then everybody comes. But of course, everything in life has its beautiful place, and everything can be seen from many perspectives. So for example, Hindi film songs can be seen as, just romantic songs. But if you're in a mood of bhakti, then any Hindi film song can bring tears to your eyes, because it's like that's a song sung to God. I can't say every single Hindi film song, but many of them, especially the older ones. I was thinking Choli ke piche kya hai? How will that be a spiritual song? But it could be, Choli
but
mein
the
dil
minute
hai
you said Hindi songs, I thought paisa paisa karti hai, because when I talked to my team and I told them we're going to have a money talk, they sing paisa paisa. That was that. So
So anything can be seen from any angle. In fact, one fun game my friends and I play is we're going down the road, And we decide anything. So we could say, for example, any sign you see is something really funny. If you decide everything's really funny, then any board, any sign, any board, it just becomes really funny because you decide it's funny. Any sign you see is a message directly from God. And literally it'll feel like that. One time I was going and we saw the sign, find purpose. The means will follow. Tata Finance. It's such a profound message. Find purpose, the means will follow. I don't know if you know this. I don't know how many of you are here are Jain. But one of the things the Jain monks do is they'll just go to an open plot of land and they'll put a stick on the ground and say, Yahan par mandir banega. Yahan par mandir banega? We don't own the land. We don't know anything. How will a mandir get built over here? But because they have such faith in their teacher that yahan par mandir banega, that they all start working and they start contributing a big chunk of whatever they're earning to this project. And because they really believe in their teacher, before they know it, they've bought the land. And Jain temple are some of the most exquisite temples anywhere in the world, right? Some of the most expensive, exquisite temples. So the Jain community in India happens to be one of the richest communities in India, even though their monks are some of the most austere monks in India. So this is the power of Sankalp Shakti, the power of intention. If you make an intention, it happens, the power of intention. So most people, if you look around you carefully, you'll find that most people will earn 10 to 15% more than their parents earned, accounting for inflation, on average. Whatever your parents earn, you will earn 10 to 15% more than that, accounting for inflation. Of course, there'll be ups and downs, but that is predominantly the case. Why? Because you're following a certain default paradigm. If you come from lower middle class, you have a certain default paradigm. If you come from middle class, you have a default paradigm. Upper middle class, default paradigm. And if you come from really the top echelons of society, again, you have a certain paradigm. You have a certain way of looking at things. So it's a money blueprint that we carry. And it's not unusual for even multimillionaires to lose everything and then to build back that same amount of money. I was seeing an interview with, Melania Trump. She was talking about how her father was once walking into the Trump Towers. There was a beggar sitting on the street. And he hit her with the elbow and said, I actually have less money than this beggar. She said, what are you talking about? You own all of this. He said, no, I'm in debt. Of course, he said, keep it quiet. Don't tell anybody. But there was a time when he had less money than that beggar because he was so many millions of dollars in debt, right? And so it's just a matter of mindset. It's a matter of what you believe about yourself, what you believe you can and can't do. So today's session is primarily about how do we look our relationship with money? How do we look at it? How do we look at prosperity? How do we look at money? How do we look at opportunity? How do we look at success? Is it automatically something that's evil, or is it just a neutral thing? And you do with it whatever you've got to do with it, right? And how do you, like a knife is neither good or evil. A knife can be used to cut vegetables and make very delicious food. Or as we know, a knife can be used to puncture somebody, and that's no fun, right? But the knife is innocent. The knife is just a knife. So it's what you do with the knife that makes all the difference. So like this, money just is what it is. Like there are so many people right now who are so grateful that people are contributing money to organizations that are organizing ambulances, that are organizing oxygen. And they're so grateful, unknown, from nowhere people are coming and supporting them. And there's such deep gratitude for these people. At the same time, money, we also see this in the very current situation, people are hoarding oxygen, they're hoarding medicines. And the medicine that normally goes for a few thousand rupees is going for tens of thousands of rupees or even lakhs of rupees. And that's an example of how this same thing.
कपड़ों में से ना ये 2-3 चीजें मैंने निकाल ली हैं जो शायद तेरे काम आ जाए. इनमें से देख लेना.
2-3 कपड़े निकाल दीजिए. बड़ी अच्छी बात. Let me just mute everybody. This is the fun of doing a flow session. Bring it on. So, and you can just let me unmute you. You've also got unmuted. So, all right. So, did you want to ask me another question, or should we just take off to some of the exercises?
No, you could
keep going.
Please,
all right.
Yeah,
so, just a little bit about my journey. So, I learned meditation quite young. At the age of 16, I went for my first meditation course, and that opened up a whole new dimension for me. If any of you ever played computer games, they have something called Easter eggs. Easter egg is a hidden feature in a game that you'll not find out about, but you'll stumble across it. It might be a special power, a special ability, a special amulet, a special way to break the rules. But this is not normally. And so then you'll typically find it on an internet forum that, oh, this game, if you go here and do that, then an Easter egg opens up. If any of you have ever gone on a Tesla, or if you owned a Tesla, Tesla is full of Easter eggs. And you have to go on YouTube to find all these Easter eggs. I've seen so many YouTube videos that when I went to the US, I have a friend who's had a Tesla for 6 years. I told him things about his Tesla that even he didn't know about. Like, for example, if you click the charging button for the car, if you click it 10 times, you have a rainbow colored light that appears. He didn't know that. It's like, whoa, I've had this car for so many years. I never knew it had this rainbow color feature. So life also has got Easter eggs. Life has got some hidden features that you can activate. And one of the most powerful Easter eggs of life is the power of your Sankalp Shakti, the power of your intention. What you focus on expands. A good example of this is if you take a concave mirror, maybe about this size, and you bounce off the sunlight onto a dot, and you put a rock over there. What do you think will happen to that rock? Just put it in the chat. What do you think will happen to a rock when a concave mirror about this size reflects sunlight onto it at one dot? Just put it in the chat. Address it to everybody. It'll spark. That's one option. It'll melt. It'll get heated up. It'll melt. It'll crack. It'll break. Rock will break. Turn the color of gold. Actually, very nice. It'll heat up. Anjali is going to get a lot of money. She's going to convert all the rocks into gold. It'll be destroyed. So different answers. Some people say nothing will happen. Some people say it'll get black. Some people say it'll crack. The real answer is, how much you've answered it, it'll actually melt like wax. Right. Have you ever heard of a rock melting like wax? Yeah. But that's exactly what happens. Most rocks will melt like wax when sunlight is focused on it from a concave mirror this size. That rock has had sunlight falling on it for millions of years. Nothing happened. But in less than a minute, it melted. So this is the power of your concentration. This is the power of Sankalp Shakti. This is like an Easter egg installed in our world, which can cut through what normally is deemed to be possible or impossible. I don't know how many of you played this game when you were in school. It's a finger lifting game. You make someone sit on a chair and everyone takes one finger. They try to lift up this person. Of course, they can't. But then they put one hand on top of the other and they focus their mind for 1 minute. Have you ever done this game? It's such a fun game. And you lift this person all the way into the air and you don't even feel it. And I've done this game with so many people. It's a fun game to do. And you realize actually your fingers are really strong. One finger can carry a 25 kilo shopping bag, no problem. So there are 4 people putting 4 fingers. That's 100 kilos. Most people are not 100 kilos. And of course, when you're putting your hands together, it becomes very, very strong. Yeah. So it's a mental block. It's not so much a physical incapacity. It's your mental block. How can my finger lift a person that's 80 kilos or 90 kilos? It's a mental block. So most of the time, it's a mental block. It's not actually the problem. It's your own inner limitations. So here's an exercise for you. And do you all have a piece of paper and pen? And if not, use your mobile phone. Because in today's class, you might have to make some notes. Yeah, Alka is all ready. So this is an interesting one. Write down what you normally earn in a month. And in case you're not earning, if you're a housewife or whatever your husband earns, I think it belongs to you. So that is your earning for the month. See, if it wasn't for you, he'd not be able to earn that much. You've got to be very clear about it. So whatever you earn per month, write it down. All right. So now, whatever you've written. So suppose someone has written that they earn, let's say 5 lakhs a month. All right. So now I want you to multiply that by 10. So put an extra 0. So suddenly 5 lakhs has become 50 lakhs. So now when I tell you you're earning 50 lakhs in a month, something will immediately start happening inside of you. Some of you will feel excited. Some of you will feel disbelief. Some of you will feel unworthy. Some of you might feel nauseous. Some of you will feel, oh my goodness, all my friends will judge me. Some of you will feel, all my relatives will now ask for money. And all kinds of funny things will start happening. Just because we put 1 0, funny things are going to start happening. Some people will say, oh my goodness, now I have to pay more taxes. My mother is like this. When I began earning more, she said, Nitya, now you have to pay more taxes. I said, Mom, of course I have to pay more taxes, but I'm also earning more. Let me pay more taxes. What's the problem? You see how it happens. So all these fears and problems start coming up the moment you start earning more. So the point is, we just added 1 0. Can you put in the chat what happened? Let me just get a little feedback from all of you. When you put an extra 0 on it, what happened? Whatever you earn per month. How did you feel? Did you feel expanded? Did you feel joyful? Did you feel disbelief? Excitement, joyful, yeah, happy, excited, very nice. I was wondering how I'm going to use it. Nothing. Okay, so someone felt nothing, disbelief, happy, yeah, all of these things. So looking forward. Great. Brilliant. So now add, just for the fun of it, add an extra zero. So you're earning 100 times. 100 times what you earn in a month. And now what happens? Ecstatic. Out of the world. Thrilling. Splurge. Amazing. Superb. Thrilling. Right. And you can also message me privately in case someone's feeling hesitant to message, because yeah, shocked, yeah, joyful. Because I can't believe everyone only feels great. Because typically you will feel a combination of good, but also uncomfortable. That's what most people will feel. Is it really possible? Am I really worthy of it? Can it really happen? What will it mean? Stress, yeah, that's honest, that happens. Planning how to make a difference in the world with the money. More responsibility, more questions, unbelievable, disbelief, joy. Perfect. So this is a really important exercise. You're checking your money blueprint. Like I said, most people will earn 10 to 15% more than their parents earn, accounting for inflation. And we tend to stay in that bandwidth because that's what our friends earn. That's what everybody we know earns, right? So it's nice to play with this and get really creative with this. My journey is interesting because I started off at 16, did some meditation courses, went on to do an MBA from one of the top MBA schools, had a really, at quite a young age, I had a pretty high profile job and we were involved in acquiring companies and things. And then I left all of that. I was actually earning at that time. My father, who had worked for so many years as quite senior in the business world, my first job, I was earning more than he was earning. So it was quite a heady thing for a young person like me. But then I decided to do something unconventional. I left my corporate job and I became a Buddhist monk.
Right.
And I joined a tradition where we actually don't use money at all. So I lived in a tradition with no money for 6 years. We'd walk to the village to get our food and everything was on the gift economy. So I've actually had a taste of earning relatively a lot and earning nothing at all and not even indulging in money whatsoever. When I came back from my monk life, people began coming to meet me. And in the beginning, whatever donation they gave was fine. But then people said, Nitya, please, set a price. It's hard to decide what to give you. So I said, all right. So I began charging 500 rupees for people to meet me. They met me for an hour, they could pay 500 rupees. So then I met one of my friends and he asked me how it's going and what I'm doing. So I told him, this is what I'm doing. He said, what are you charging? 500 rupees. 500 rupees? He said, Nitya, no way. That's too little. You should charge at least 5,000 rupees. I said, 5,000? That's 10 times what I'm charging. He said, just do it. So I like to be playful. So talking about relationship with money, I've decided to have a playful relationship with money. So let's see what will happen. So instantly, I didn't even wait. The next day onwards, my fees became 5,000 for every person to meet me. Right away, a lot of people left saying Nitya Shanti's become money-minded. He used to be a very saintly figure. Now he's become a money-minded person. Let's leave him. So an entire set of people stopped coming to me because they assumed I'm money-minded. And a completely new set of people began coming. So I found that whatever price you charge, some people will come and some people will not come. Just looking at your price, some will come, some will assume you're good and some will assume you're hopeless. So the moment I began charging 5,000 rupees per session, new people began coming. So I met my friend Vineet in Delhi and Vineet said, Nitya, we have some CEOs who would like to do a session with you. How much do you charge? I said, yeah, I very proudly said I charge 5,000 rupees per session. He said, Nitya, please, they'll never come to you if you charge only 5,000. I said, really? What should I charge? So you charge at least 50,000. 50,000 for one session? Yeah, you should charge 50,000. All right. So right away, again, 10 times, there was a big jump from 5,000 to 50,000. And it was amazing. A whole new set of people began coming when I was charging 50,000 rupees. And I was working with a whole other class of society. You see, I was doing the same work, but people had a different sense of what my value was. So I began to realize money is a game. Like in the beginning, when I was doing corporate programs, when they say, hey, can you train these middle managers of others? I said, sure, I've got no problem. I'm happy to train middle managers. And I do a whole series of programs. But then I'd find, even though the programs were very well received, everyone loved them, senior management did not want to come to me. Oh, he trains middle management. Oh, is that the game? So if I start with middle management, you've decided I'm a trainer for middle management. So that's the day I decided to never do middle management. I'll always start from the top. Then later on, we can do middle management if required. So now if anyone calls me, I'll say yes. And I always start with the top team, CXO level. And then if they like the program, then we can think about going down to the other levels. So it's all, you realize it's just a game. And how do you play the game? Can you get creative with it? Can you get playful with it? One of my favorite quotes comes from Kashmir Shaivism. Goraknath says, Hasiba, Kheliba, Dhariba, Dhyana. Hasiba means I shall laugh. Kheliba means I shall play. And Dhariba Dhyanam means that I shall meditate. And what a great philosophy to live your life with, including your relationship with money. Have a playful relationship with money. When I went abroad and I was teaching abroad, 50,000 per hour was again very low. It was like the lowest level you could charge at that if you're working abroad. I realized these are all just arbitrary numbers. You could pretty much charge anything. There's one company, that invited me to a session, and I charged $4,000 for an hour. And they were so happy to have me. Why? I was the cheapest trainer that they could get at my level. At $4,000 an hour, I was the cheapest trainer, right? So in other words, who are you hanging out with? The kind of people you hang out with, you start thinking like them. You start assuming that's your value as well. So one of the simplest things, this comes from the Buddha's time as well. Once Ananda, who was the Buddha's cousin, he woke up one morning and he had a thought. Having good company is half of the holy life. The holy life in Pali language is brahmacharyam, right? So having good companions is half of the holy life. So he does his duties, he takes care of the Buddha. And then he asked the Buddha that, can I ask a question? This morning I was meditating and a thought came. Having good friends is half of the holy life. Is it true? And the Buddha shook his head and said, no, not true. He said, not true. Oh, did I get it wrong? He said, you got it wrong. Having good friends is the whole of the holy life. So the kinds of people you associate with, the Buddha is saying, the kinds of people you associate with, you start thinking like them, you start believing like them, you start benchmarking yourself. Like even right now, the kinds of bags you buy, the kinds of shoes you have, the decoration of your home, are you not unconsciously benchmarking? Acha, usne apne ghar mein kya kiya hai? What jewelry are people wearing? Aren't we benchmarking? If you're honest with ourselves, we are at some level, we're benchmarking ourselves, right? So that's happening all the time anyway. Like I was so happy with my little Casio wristwatch in school until my friend got an analog wristwatch. Then I told my mother, I also want a wristwatch with hands. Only bachas have this Casio wristwatch. I was totally fine until my friend had that. And then even I wanted that. So in other words, we should be conscious to surround ourselves with people who really inspire us and who get us to be the best version of ourselves. I'm not trying to say necessarily that always earning more money is better. That's not actually true. I'll give you an example. There's a family in the US, Russian immigrant family. And they were living in the US. The father had a business, husband had a business, but they were all quite sick. The husband was overweight, the wife was overweight, the kids also had juvenile diabetes. And this mother got very fed up one day and said, there must be a better way. So she made a promise to herself. Anytime I see a healthy person, I will ask them why they're healthy. And she let go of her inhibitions. And anytime she saw a healthy person, they said, you look really healthy, you look really fit. What's your secret? And she just wouldn't hesitate. She would ask, and it like takes a certain amount of courage to approach a person and say, you look really healthy, tell me your secret, right? And she began collecting advice. And one day she saw a really fit woman jogging, and being overweight, she also jogged behind her. This woman saying, why are you following me? What happened? She said, no, you're very fit. She's like panting, like, you're really fit. I also want to learn to be fit. She said, meet me tomorrow at this cafe. So she meets her at that cafe. And this woman says, I have been eating raw food for the last so many years, and it has healed me of so many diseases. So this is a totally new, she's never heard about this. So anyway, she comes home and she decides to try it. She empties out her fridge of all the cooked food. Her husband's complaining, her kids are complaining. But for 2 weeks, the entire family eats nothing but raw foods. And dramatic changes start happening. Her husband starts losing weight, his allergies start disappearing, his skin improves, the kids start coughing less, asthma disappears, diabetes normalizes. And long story short, the whole family goes raw. And the husband has a certain business where there's the city in the US, they do this sometimes. The city changes zoning laws. So his business is now no longer allowed to be in the place it was. So overnight he gets bankrupt and he can't pay his debts. So they get into a car and they get out of there. And what they're doing for the next 3 years is they travel, they go to the next town, they find the biggest church, and they offer to the church, we will teach your congregation about healthy food, about healthy living. And they make raw food for the church, and they go on like this for 3 years. They live out of their car. And you might think this is such a sad story, but they said that was the best 3 years of their life. They traveled across the US. They'd wake up in a new place every day. They'd go swimming in the streams. Their dogs would run around. They'd meet a new community every week. They'd get enough donations to last them for another week. And now this family, if you ever heard of something called green smoothies, Victoria Butenko, who wrote this book, she's actually the one who kind of popularized green smoothies. So she and her family are considered the foremost experts on raw food in America. And they've written so many books on raw food and raw greens and all kinds of things. But the point is, having less money is not always a bad thing, right? So what I mean by a playful relationship with money is to be completely comfortable. You may earn less, like I earned nothing actually for 6 years, some of the best years of my life. So can I be comfortable with earning nothing, little, average, a lot, and astronomical? And can I be okay in all of those things? What kind of self-worth do I need to have to be okay in all of that? That's a really interesting question. Even if you get attached to one end of the pendulum, that I earn a lot, then if you have a setback in life, and sooner or later, we all have ups and downs in life. Who goes through life without an up and down? Then your whole self-worth should not get shattered that, oh my goodness, I used to be a crorepati and now I am nothing. And now I need allopathy, from crorepati to allopathy and homeopathy. So we don't want that, right? So we want you to be completely independent, inwardly strong and inwardly free. And that's what I mean to have a wonderful relationship with money. And I invite you to study the works of people who really have inspiring relationship with money. Why don't you all put in the chat at least 3 people who you think have a better relationship with money and abundance and prosperity than you do? So put it in the chat. Let's think of, or even if you can think of one person, that's fine. So between 1 to 5 people. Who would you say is like a nice role model for you when it comes to abundance and money and prosperity and opportunity? You can't say Nitya, that's cheating. Ratan Tata is popular, yeah. Okay, if Ratan Tata is taken, everyone can't say Ratan Tata. You've got to say something else. Sadhguru, my mother-in-law, my dad, the Oberois, yeah, very nice. Nita Ambani. I've written my 3. Sudha Murthy, Bill Gates, Azim Premji, Shah Rukh Khan, Priyanka Chopra, Bill Gates. Prime Minister. So I've written 3. Vahe Takeda, wonderful book called Maro Up, M-A-R-O-U-P. You can order this book. So it's a small little book. This book was very influential for me because Vahe Takeda is he's recently passed away, but he was considered the Warren Buffett of Japan, multi-billionaire. And he had a completely different philosophy to money than almost anybody I've seen. For him, the way to make more money was not to invest in the best stocks. All that is fine. He said, Maro up. Maro is a Japanese word, which means raise the quality of your heart. Raise the joy, raise the sincerity, raise the character of your heart. And up is an English word, of course. Maro up is raise. Bring it up. So he says, raise the quality of your sincerity. Raise the quality of your joy. Raise the quality of your character. Raise the quality of your heartfulness. And he said, that is the main quality that you need in order to invest and in order to be very successful in life and in money, with money. Oprah, we all know. Oprah is a great example because she began with some of the worst money beliefs imaginable. She came from a very, very poor family and her father was always against her doing everything. So step by step, she had to pull herself out. A great book by Oprah you can look up. It's called What I Know For Sure. It's a small little book, What I Know For Sure. Great examples she gives from her own life on how she's had to overcome and turn over her ideas around money. And since most of you, I think all of you here are women, then you should definitely look up Sarah Blakely, who is one of the world's youngest billionaires. And Sarah Blakely is also a fantastic story because she began as, she used to sell fax machines. In fact, she was very smart, but she always did poorly in exams. Has it happened to some of you? You're generally very smart, but examination doesn't go. Yeah. Some people, that's not academically so good, right? So at the exam time, you go blank. So she had that problem. She go blank at exam time. And so she couldn't get into a proper college. She went to Disneyland. She wanted to be goofy, but she was an inch too short. So they made her into a chipmunk. She said, I can't even be, like the lowest point of her life. I can't even be bloody goofy. I have to be a chipmunk in Disneyland. So from there to selling fax machines, to then developing her idea of selling a new kind of women's underwear. And she owns Spanx, and she's one of the world's youngest billionaires. And her story is so inspiring. If you've heard of law of attraction, she's a living example of law of attraction. Like she really believes in the power of visualization. She really believes in the power of affirmation. In her company, if anyone makes a mistake, it's not called a mistake, it's called a oops. And everyone's encouraged to talk about the oops and to laugh about the oops. So she shares her own oops and everybody shares their oops. So definitely look up Sara Blakely. In other words, start looking up people who you really admire and look up to. And then these people are going to give you a totally different way of looking at abundance and money. What is her book's name? Oprah's book's name is What I Know for Sure. Yeah. And the book on Vahid Takeda is by Ken Honda. It's called Maro Up, M-A-R-O-U-P. Another great example for me is King Janak. King Janak is from our mythology, the father of Sita. And he was known to be a king who was also enlightened. In fact, more than the Bhagavad Gita, my favorite book is Ashtavakra Gita. Ashtavakra Gita, the conversation between the sage Ashtavakra and King Janak. And it's so powerful how the sage, Ashtavakra, because his body was bent in 8 different ways. The quick story of Ashtavakra is when he was still in the womb, his father would be chanting Vedic mantras. And from his womb, the son would say, "You're chanting it wrong. That's the wrong pronunciation. You're missing it." And father began getting fed up. Every time he's chanting from the womb, the son is saying, "What are you doing?" And he got so angry. "You've not even been born yet. And you're already correcting me." And he cursed him that you'll be born, but your body will be bent in 8 different ways. His father cursed his son. His son came out born. His limbs were bent in 8 different ways. But he was a Jnani. Even he was born as a Jnani. So King Janak heard that it's possible to get enlightened in the time it takes to get onto a horse. The scriptures say you can get enlightened as fast as that. He called all the wise men and said, "Okay, wise men and women, I would say." And he said, "And teach me how to become enlightened like this." And everyone said, "No, we don't know how to do this." Then Ashtavakra comes and says, "I will teach you." And the whole assembly starts laughing. And Ashtavakra also starts laughing. So King Janak says, "I can understand why they're laughing. Why are you laughing?" He says, "Of course I'm laughing, king. I thought you'd got the wisest people in the kingdom." But turns out, and he uses a very hard word. He says, they're all chamar. Chamar is leather worker. It's a chamar hai. And they get very offended. "How dare you call us a chamar? You're a chamar. You laughed at me because my body is bent. What kind of wisdom do you have? By looking at my body, you decided I could not answer the king's question. You are no better than chamar." And they all became embarrassed. He said, "King, I'll teach you. Come." So he called a horse. "Okay, now I'm going to teach you how to get enlightened in the time it takes to get onto the horse. But first, you got to give me Guru Dakshina." "What Guru Dakshina will you give?" "Oh, I'll give you gold." "I don't want your stupid gold." "Oh, I'll give you half my kingdom." "I don't want half your kingdom." "I'll give you my whole kingdom." "I don't want your whole kingdom." So he goes on saying, "I'll give you this, I'll give you this." And finally he says, "I give you everything I have. I give you my mind, I give you my body, I give you my soul, I give you my kingdom. Now teach me." He says, "Now I'll teach you." He says, "Get onto the horse." So King Janaka gets onto the horse. And Ashtavakra smiles. "It is done. It is done. But I'm the same person. Nothing's happened." He says, "Who allowed you to think that thought? You've given your mind to me. You've given your soul to me. Who allowed you to think that thought? Give that to me." And instantly at the realization, none of this is mine. None of this is mine. Neti, 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 right? So Ashtavakra teaches King Janak how to be enlightened in a go. And what's beautiful about King Janak's story is, despite being a fantastic, powerful king, he has no attachment to any of it. At one time, a sage, a great rishi, sends his son, who's very brilliant, but also a little bit ghamandi, a little bit egoistic. He says, "Go to learn. Your next teacher is King Janak." He says, "What will the king teach me? I'm a rishi." So no, go to the king. So he goes, and the guard makes him wait outside for 1 week. And then he's all angry and upset, but then he comes inside and King Janak gives him an audience. And before entering the room, he leaves a stick outside the door. So he comes inside and they're having a profound conversation. And then a guard comes running. "King, king, king, there's a fire in the kingdom." He says, "Don't disturb me. I'm having a conversation." After a while, "King, king, king, the fire has reached the gates of the palace." "Don't disturb me. I'm having a conversation." "King, the fire has reached the outside of this building." He says, "Don't disturb me. I'm having a conversation." And then the rishi says, "Excuse me, my stick might get burnt." And King Janak said, "Oh, your stick might get burnt. That's outside the hall. My entire kingdom is burning and I'm happy to talk to you. And you're worried about your stick that might get burnt. So who is the real rishi here? Who is the real tyagi over here? Who is the real free person over here?" And then he gets it. These are all beautiful mythological stories, right? And so I would love for each one of us to have that kind of a free relationship with money. And we really have a game with it. So let me play a game with you right now. In the chat, the story has changed a little bit. The story is, this is not a Fiki Flow meeting anymore. This is an annual gathering of billionaires. It's an annual gathering. In fact, I did this recently. And someone said, "Nitya, why would an annual gathering of billionaires happen on Zoom?" So I said, that's because I've recently bought Zoom and I thought I'll invite my friends to have a chat. So that the game is I've recently bought Zoom and I've called all my friends from all over the world and you're all multi-billionaires. And I'm asking you, what are the cool things you were doing last year? So now put in the chat, what are some of the cool things? It could be adventures you had. It could be investments you made. It could be philanthropy you did. It could be anything. It could be some global crisis you solved. And tell me, what have you been up to in the last year? This is the Billionaire Club. You've been cooking. You've been singing. Hasiba, Kheliba, Pakaba ba. Teaching and teaching. I've been traveling during the pandemic. Introspection. I started my own boutique. I'm enjoying life. I've taken up a few courses. I want you to think more like a billionaire. See, there's all this stuff you can do even now. What are you doing as a billionaire? You're cruising, all right. How about something like I helped plant fruit trees in all the cities of the world. I want you to think really big, right? Or I helped clean up half the ocean of plastic. Or I bought a cruise ship specially for orphan kids to enjoy seeing the whole world. So I want you to expand your mind. House arrest. I'm sorry, this billionaire is having a house arrest. Chilling in my yacht, all right. I got a revolution in sustainable health. That's more like it. I researched on COVID and vaccinated my entire country. I cycled around the world. I started working more, all right. I spent time like my family like never before. I hope your family liked it. Allowing Earth to breathe by getting everyone to stay home. We started an oxygen plant, all right. I bought my vacation home. I produced enough vaccine for the world to heal. I ruled the stock market. I noted my investments. I wasted time. So this lockdown is trying to get better. Okay. I was helping people stuck in the villages during pandemic. Yeah, very satisfying. I learned something new about myself. I got the ocean clean. I learned to slow down. I started a movement for making kids around the world happy. Wonderful. I went in hibernation in Antarctica in my private jet. I became contented. You know, the fun is fun. I chained all the slums into homes. I spent quality time with kids. A lot of introspection. I paid all the restaurants in the world to serve free food. I found everything has its own time and it will only happen when it's meant to be. I bought a piece of land in the moon. Cleaned the Ganges. You know, you're reminding me of this cartoon I saw of there are these two people sitting on the street and they have a bowl in front of them. One of them has a sign that says, please spare change. If you have any coins in your pocket, please spare change. And the other one has a sign that says, if you need, please take. To me, this person is beyond a billionaire who's sitting on the street with a bowl and he says, if you need, please take. It's got nothing to do with how much money is in the bank. It's got everything to do with your attitude, isn't it? There was I don't know if you remember, there was a show back in the day called Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous. Remember that show? Richard Leach or David Leach, one of the two. So he would interview all these people. I remember one episode where he's interviewing a billionaire and he asks him, do billionaires have problems? And the billionaire starts laughing loudly. He says, anyone who thinks that billionaires don't have problems is not a billionaire. Billionaires have billionaire level problems. Millionaires have millionaire level problems. Everyone has got problems at their own level, right? So you will always have problems. If you think that having less money will be a problem, well, even having more money can have its own problem, but you'll deal with it. Like you deal with everything in life, you will deal with that. Like one issue people have is, oh, if I earn more, then I'll have to there'll be more paperwork involved. Yeah, but then you can also hire people to take care of the paperwork, right? You don't have to get so bogged down by it. So like this, at every level, there will be new problems, but you will also have the new capacity to deal with it. So less important than how much you're earning is why do you want to earn that much? Right? If you just want to cook and if you just want to be with your kids, maybe you don't need to be a billionaire. Maybe it's okay to just earn a little more than you do already. If you don't have a deep enough why, then of course it's not going to happen. So the what is possible when you're in touch with your why. So for instance, my why is that I want to create conscious communities where we can have, people who are tired of the usual rigmarole of life and the usual schooling system and the usual occupation system can come together and learn from each other and live in a far more, I think every single one of us has an intuition. I mean, there can be better ways to live. There can be better ways to produce our food. There can be better ways to educate our kids. There can be better ways to live together, enjoy together. I mean, many of us question, why do we do these things the way we do them? Why are marriages the way they are? Why are parties the way they are? Why is housing the way it is? I think we question it at some level. So that's my why. So I want to get together people who are willing to question and to create that. And so let's get at least 500 to 1,000 acres, and let's have a lot of fun. For me, it's a playground. For me, 500 to 1,000 acres. I've actually lived in monasteries which were 3,000 acres large. So I have a sense of how big that is. And that's like a big playground. You can do all kinds of fun stuff in 3,000 acres, right? So minimum would be 500 acres. And that's like, for me, it's a playground. Wouldn't it be fun if, right? Wouldn't it be fun if people who I admire, respect, find inspiring, have similar values as me, can come together and do fun things like this? And that's a good enough why. And so now I'm quite comfortable charging whatever I charge. And I can charge more, I can charge less. I can be flexible with it because there's a nice why behind it. When people work for me, I would like them to be paid very good salaries. I'd like them to have the freedom to take great holidays, right? So like that. So triple loop learning. Write down the triple loops. First loop is what? Make a circle. What? That's the first loop. What you do. Second loop is how you do it. And third loop is why. Why do you do it? And all three are important. What you do is important. How you do it is important. And why you do it is also incredibly important. And the mistake most people do is they focus on the what and maybe a little bit on the how, but they forget the why. A person was breaking stone. What are you doing? I'm breaking stone. Another person, what are you doing? I'm being very careful with the way I break my stone. I'm using very good skills to break the stone. I'm being very effective, very efficient. Fantastic. Third person, what are you doing? Building a temple. You see, first is focus on the what. What are you doing breaking stone? Second is focus on the knowledge. There's a good way to break stones. There's an effective way to break stones. There's a better way to break stones. How do you break stones? How do you break more stones in the same amount of time? And the third one is why? Because you're building a temple here, because you're building a house here, because you're building whatever here. And that's what inspires us, you see. So we need to have a deeper why. A great example of this was Jawaharlal Nehru was inaugurating a steel plant. And it was a big Maidan, big open space. And there were thousands of people who had just set up the steel plant. They were listening to him. And as he was speaking, unexpectedly for that season, it began to rain. Unseasonal rain. So people had not come prepared. They had no umbrella. They had no cover. They began scattering like ants. And Jawaharlal Nehru paused. And he said one statement. He just said one sentence. It made everyone come back. What statement can be so powerful to make everyone come back? He said, I did not know the people of the steel city are afraid of a little water. In one sentence, he changed the mindset of everybody. We are the people, we are the citizens of the steel city. We just built a gigantic steel plant over here. Steel can withstand, nothing happens to steel with water. In one sentence, he changed their identity. When their identity came, they came back and they stood in the rain and they listened to the rest of his talk. And that's how leadership works. You change the way people perceive themselves. You have to change the way you perceive. If you want to have a different relationship with money, you have to change your perception of yourself. Are you working at Maslow's hierarchy, right? Is money just for your survival needs? All right, you can earn money for survival needs. Is money just for your next level socialization needs? Okay, you can do that, right? Is money more for your self-esteem needs? Or is money for your self-actualization needs? You have to ask yourself. So I'm very clear. All of these things I do are in service of my self-realization and my self-actualization. And also for the self-actualization and self-realization of everyone connected. Now with that, I have no qualms. Money is actually my friend. If you think about it, so money, just try this visualization for a second. Maybe close your eyes, it'll be interesting. Close your eyes. So money is printed in some RBI press or somewhere. It's very crisp and nice. It typically goes to a bank. And let's say a person who, let's say a security guard, he works in somebody's home. He goes to withdraw 1,000 rupees from the bank. And he gets his 500 rupee note. Now the security guard, what are his concerns? What are his thoughts? What's his relationship to money? And with that 500 rupees, he gives it to his wife, who's in charge of the domestic expenses. Now, what is her concept of money? How does she look at those 500 rupees? And then she goes to the grocery shop and she buys enough groceries for 2 weeks with those 500 rupees. That shopkeeper who receives the 500 rupees, what is his relationship to money? How does he see the 500 rupees? And a month later, he uses that 500 rupees to pay for the school fees of his daughter. And the person in the school who receives that 500 rupees, what is their relationship to money? How do they feel about the money? And this person has to, the teacher, he has to go to a different city for a workshop. So he buys a flight ticket with 500 plus other money. That 500 rupees goes to an airline. So the airline official who receives it, what's their relationship to money? And eventually that money goes to the owner of the airline. What's their relationship to money? Person who owns an entire airline. And that person is part of a billionaire club. And he uses that money for a charity to do one of the things that you've mentioned in your billionaire club. Maybe you're planting trees, maybe you're cleaning up the ocean, maybe you're feeding orphans. And how do those people receive it? And eventually from there, the money comes into your hands. So money went to many different places. Each person had their own expectations, their own imprints, their own beliefs, their own sanskaras. And now it's come to you. And I want to suggest that money is very happy to come to you. Money really likes coming to you. Because for the first time, someone is seeing money for what it actually is. Not just a means to an end. Not just let's pay the bills, let's buy the groceries, let's pay for the education, let's pay for the travel. But you see money for what it really is. And I want to suggest to you, can you look at money as nothing but pure energy? Pure, undiluted energy. And this energy can be used in all kinds of ways, just like any energy can. And you have decided to use this money, this energy with love and with respect and with joy. So the money, this 500 rupees that's come to you, now feel it's come to the end of a big pilgrimage. Like hum log jaate hain na Tirth Yatra par. So money has come to a Tirthan because for the first time, you're seeing money for how beautiful it is. And now through you, whatever happens, it's not what you do with the money, it's how and it's why. And you see money as an energy of blessings. And through you, this money will go on to touch many more lives. So I want to suggest to you that from now on, for the rest of your life, all money that comes to you, you receive it by saying arigato. Arigato means thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Or you can use any other word you like. I like arigato. Every time money comes to you, even a small amount of money, even 10 rupees, you say, thank you, arigato, arigato. And the money feels received and welcomed. And anytime you spend money, I'd like you to say, go as a blessing, come back with your friends. Go as a blessing, come back with your friends. Go as a blessing, come back with your friends who are also blessings. So you receive money with grace and you spend money with grace. And so you have become like, you become like a portal in which money gets purified. The energy of money gets seen and purified. Go as a blessing, come back with your friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go as a blessing, come back with your friends. And earlier we might have said money comes and money goes. But now your mantra is money comes and money grows. Money comes and money grows. Go as a blessing, come back with your friends. Take a deep breath. Maybe share a little bit in the comments. What is it like doing this exercise? How did it feel as you visualize money going through the different hands? Or if you want to unmute yourself, that's also possible. This had a sense of expansion. I'll allow you to unmute yourself if somebody wants to speak. Briefly tell us, what is it like? sense of expansion and joy. Felt amazing.
May I?
Yeah, please go ahead. Who is it?
Yeah. So it just felt that,
Anjali.
you know, how powerful money is and how we tend to look at it in a limited way, but it is limitless.
Yes.
It's like, you know, it sort of fuels an infinite ocean of energy because it just moves, and so many things keep on happening because it moves.
So beautiful. And how did it feel when money came to you?
So it felt so special this time. It felt like, yeah, okay, raw energy in my hand and mine to put back, and it will keep on coming to me.
So nice. Really powerful. Thanks, Anjali.
Yeah.
You know, you should all look up a video on YouTube. It's, I think you search for red paperclip. There's a man who was sitting in his office and he saw a little bowl with many paper clips, picked up a red paperclip and he wondered, what can I exchange this for? So he went to Craigslist. It's one of the websites and they have a barter section. He said, I have a red paperclip. I want to exchange it. So a lady in a different town, she said, oh, I have a pen. I can exchange it with you. So she sent him her pen. And then he put up the pen again. I want to exchange this. And somebody said, I've got a doorknob. I can exchange that. And this kept going on. And a few months later, believe it or not, he exchanged what he had for a house. He went from a paper clip to a house. I mean, I cannot think of a better example of how from nothing you can create everything. It was all about the mindset. He really believed he can do something beautiful with this. And red paper, in fact, the town which gave him the house, they have a gigantic red paper clip, the biggest red paper clip in the world, Guinness record. And they loved his idea so much that they decided to gift him a house and whatever he gave them for it. So it's so powerful that from nothing, he went to have a whole house, a proper big house, bungalow, right? So this is really powerful. It's all about our mindset. It's where do we start from? What do we do? It's not the lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. And if you decide to have a better, more joyful relationship with money, amazing things happen. So here's the question for you. Whatever you earn in a year, and like I said, if you're not earning, then whatever your husband earns in a year, or whoever else earns in a year, whatever you earn in a year, what would it take for you to earn that in a month? It's a very powerful question. You've got to start thinking differently, believing differently, acting differently for this. Whatever I earn in a year, you don't have to answer this, just a question for you, right? Whatever you earn in a year, what would it take for you to earn it in a month? And then once you achieve that, and it's not that hard to achieve actually, then the next time you ask yourself, whatever I earn in a year, what would it take for me to earn it in a day? You've got to think completely differently for this. It's going to challenge you. It's going to challenge your self-worth. It's going to challenge everything. And it's beautiful. You get to see your own inner blocks. Programming will come up from childhood that, oh, we should not have more than we need and this and that. All kinds of stuff is going to come up. Who decides what you need? You know, whatever your current lifestyle is, that you think you need that much. But that's just you're used to having X number of cars, used to having X number of staff, used to having X number of clothes. You're used to that. That's why it's a need. When you earn more, then that will become your need, right? So there's no fixed thing about, I want you to be playful with this. So start with earning what you earn in a year, in a month. And the beautiful thing about your mind is it's an answer finding machine. So I'll give you an example, a true story. A man comes out of a restaurant and he's shocked to find someone has scratched his car. As they were driving or reversing their car, they have, dented and scratched his car. He's so upset. In America, when this happens, it is courtesy to leave your number behind. So you can contact the person and figure out insurance. This is courtesy. In India, of course, no one will do it. But in the US, it's a normal courtesy. That person had not left a number behind. So he's even more angry. And now you can see the anger building and he says, this is not healthy. So he instantly makes a decision. I'll take it to the garage. Whatever amount the mechanics say they'll take to get it fixed, I will earn 10 times that much from an unexpected source. So he takes it to the garage. And let's say the mechanic says $1,000 to fix it. So in his mind, oh, I'm going to get $10,000 from an unexpected source. And like I said, the mind is an answer finding mechanism. So now every time he looks for the dent, he says, yeah, I wonder where 10,000 are coming from. Instead of feeling bad, I have to pay 1,000. I wonder where 10,000 are coming from. I wonder where 10,000 are coming from. I also told this to a friend of mine who was in a very bitter divorce, and she was stuck about some 1 or 2 lakh rupees. I said, don't be silly. You're wasting your life over a few lakh rupees, 5 lakh, whatever, to 10 lakhs. I said, you mentally decide when the divorce is done, you will get 10 times that amount from your unleashed creativity and from your emotional balance. You wasted 8 years already, stuck up in some stupid 5, 10 lakh rupees. Do not do that. And even if it was more, even if it was 5, 10 crore rupees, it would be the same answer. You multiply that by 10 or whatever number you like, right? So that's what he did. And sure enough, a few days later, he was having a shower and a whole new idea came. He was a trainer and he decided to offer a free workshop to his friends. And they loved it. They said, you should definitely offer this workshop. He made a workshop out of it. And 2 months later, forget about 10 times, he had earned 30 times that amount, enough to buy a brand new car. So what he did was, this is called energy redirection. What otherwise for most of us would have been feeling angry, feeling sad, feeling like a victim. Horrible people don't know how to reverse their car. They damaged my car. He changed, in his mind, it became an opportunity. He saw an opportunity where everybody else saw adversity. And we all know how to do this. We've just forgotten. Like children, I give them a newspaper. And the easiest thing in the newspaper is I say, find some bad news. Easiest thing, right? So they all go, and within a minute, they've all found, I said, find the worst first news you can find. So they all find bad news. And then the question for all these children is, now you have to find a way, whatever bad news you've chosen, you have to tell me, what's the $1 million opportunity here? And in less than 5 minutes, all these children have found $1 million opportunity wherever their problem was, every single one of them. Like I did a program once and someone said, Nitya, I found a news article. There's been a big earthquake in the Northeast. What's the $1 million opportunity? He said, oh, wow, so many homes have got cracks. If I can set up a team of people who can fix these cracks, that's a multi-million-dollar industry right there. A team of reliable people who will go around fixing your cracks at a good price and a good way. Homes all across the Northeast are full of cracks. If my company can do this, that's a multi-million-dollar business. He found a business opportunity there. Where everybody else saw tragedy and catastrophe, he saw an opportunity. It's a way of thinking. Behind every problem is an amazing opportunity. Have any of you been to New York? Brooklyn Bridge? New York has Brooklyn Bridge. So in Brooklyn Bridge, there was a man walking near Brooklyn Bridge. And he saw workers taking out some pieces of wood. He said, what are you doing? They said, this wood is rotting. It's been here for hundreds of years. We're putting new wood. What will you do with this wood? No, it's old. It's going to get burnt. He said, you know what? Don't burn it. I'll pay for the transportation cost. You send it to this warehouse. And he called the phone. He booked a warehouse. All the wood went there. Then he asked for a lumber mill to cut the wood into chips, a few inches big, and stamp it, saying genuine piece of Brooklyn Bridge. He sold each chip for $10. He made a classified ad, which came across US newspapers, own a piece of Brooklyn Bridge for $10. Instantly became a millionaire. What for everybody else was junk, for him was a treasure. You see, it's not about what's there, it's about your way of thinking. And he found opportunity where everybody just saw trash. One person's junk is another person's treasure. It's how do you see it? It's your way of looking at it. So the power of, so here's an interesting equation. More important, well, not exactly an equation, but just a principle. We all say time is very important. Time management, time management, time management. But actually more important than time management is energy management. You know, I told you the example of the concave mirror. The sun had been shining on that rock for millions of years, nothing happened. In less than a minute, it melted like wax because of the power of energy, right? You'll notice in 24 hours, your energy is not the same throughout the day. Maybe in the morning, some of you are morning people, some of you are night people. But your energy is different. Some of you in the morning can get a lot more done. Some of you at night can get a lot more done. It's not just time management, it's energy management. So if you exercise, it looks like I'm wasting time. No, you're investing time. If you exercise, you tend to have more energy. If you eat well, you tend to have more energy. If you sleep well, you tend to have more energy. If you have good quality thoughts, you tend to have more energy. So more important than time management is energy management. And more important than energy management is attention management. Where are you focusing your attention? Are you focusing your attention on what's wrong, what's missing, what's holding you back? That'll expand. Are you focusing your energy on possibility, like the man with the Brooklyn Bridge? What's the opportunity here? What's the possibility here? Yeah, that's a good question, right? What's the $1 million opportunity here? In every situation, what's the $1 million opportunity here? Your mind will go racing to find an answer. So you keep asking yourself, what's the possibility here? What's the opportunity here? What's my bigger why? And that focuses your attention. So high quality questions will focus your attention in a very good way. Like the question I gave you, what would it take for you to earn in a month what you're currently earning in a year? Just chew on that question. Just stay with that question. Meditate on that question. Don't be in a rush to find the answer. Your subconscious mind will give you the answer. You just have the question. In less than a month, chances are you'll get an answer. But then be bold and act on it. And don't be afraid. I did a program for Yatra.com, and the CEO was talking about after leaving college, he had an idea. And his father invested his life savings. His father used to be a government employee. His father believed in his son, invested his life savings. The first business tanked. The first business, everything was lost. And the father, instead of getting angry and upset and betrayed, he said, son, try again. His second business tanked. His father said, son, try again. His third business was Yatra.com. And he had tears in his eyes as he said, I'm here because of my father. He could have scolded me in the beginning and said, you useless fellow, you wasted my life savings. He said, no, son, try again. Try again. Because his father knows, haar ke aage jeet hai. Try again, try again, try again. Next. Too many of us give up too easily. Got to go again and again and again and again and again. And that's how transformation happens. Big topic. Nandita, how are you doing on time?
We're doing fine. We're almost done. I think we're kind of, yeah, we can.
Can I give you all one game to play? I don't see breakout rooms here, but in future, when you have a Zoom call, even if you meet in together, I want you to play a game. And the game is like this. You will decide that you're meeting each other. Let's say 10 of you meet. Let's say you meet at someone's home, or even if you meet online, and you decide you're meeting 10 years from today, right? And in 10 years, amazing things have happened in your business, in your family, in your home, in every aspect of your life, your health. I mean, you're looking younger than you look 10 years back. I mean, all the fun stuff, right? So amazing things have happened. So first you can make some notes about what amazing things have happened. I call it the BPO, best possible outcome. So what's the BPO for 10 years from today? There's a lovely saying that most people underestimate what they can achieve in 3 years, and they overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year. So I'm actually giving you 10 full years. So amazing things can happen. If you focus your mind, amazing things can get created in 10 years. So you just let your mind, don't have any limitations. And assuming there's no limitation of resources, no limitation of time, no limitation of skill, what would be your best possible outcome, the BPO for 10 years? You write that down. And then someone announces the party has begun. So you say, welcome guys, it's been 10 years. We met at Fiki Flow in Ludhiana. 10 years have passed. You people are now living all over the world. Welcome back. And let the party begin. And then you're all in role play mode. And you're talking about how amazingly your life has shifted in the last 10 years. So someone said, did you read my book? Of course I read your book. It's a New York Times bestseller. I loved it. And have you been to my farm? Your farm is so amazing. How come you never invited me? I'm seeing pictures on Instagram all the time. And you're all talking about each other's stories and dreams and aspirations. And have you been to my restaurant? Have you read my book? My son is doing so well. He started his own practice. And you all are you're building on each other's stories. Whatever someone is saying, you're building on the stories. So if someone says, did you see my restaurant? Everyone's talking about your restaurant. It is the #1 Michelin star restaurant. Everyone's talking about your restaurant. I can't wait to come and eat at your restaurant. So like this, you build on each other's stories, and you remain in character for a minimum of 15 minutes. And people in the neighborhood will wonder what is happening, because your house is going to get so loud. Because the energy gets so big with this kind of game. People start almost screaming and shouting, and they don't even realize how they become so loud. And then right after that, the game ends. You just sit down, and you get quiet. You close your eyes. And for the next 15 minutes, you sit in silence. And you let all of this energy just settle. And what you've done in just a few minutes is you've completely upgraded a lot of your beliefs. What you visualize, vocalize, and emotionalize gets actualized. So for 15 minutes, you didn't let a single doubt, because it's just a game, right? It's playful. So for 15 minutes, no doubt came into your mind. You actually had that farmhouse. You actually had written that book. You actually had achieved those things. And you felt it, and you saw it, and you spoke about it. You were in character, you were in tune. You have planted very powerful seeds in your subconscious mind. And it is not unlikely that those things will actually go on to happen in ways that are currently quite mysterious to you, because that's the way it works. So Hasiba, Kheliba, Dhariba, Dhyanam, I want you to be playful with this. I want you to enjoy this process. Don't make this one more heavy duty thing. Have a loving relationship with money. Have a playful relationship with money. Learn from the people you admire. Learn from Vahe Takeda. Learn from Oprah. Learn from King Janak. Learn from all these other wonderful people you mentioned. Read their books. Understand how they think. Challenge yourself to think 10x, 100x, Ask yourself interesting questions like, how can I earn in a month what I earn in a year? And it's going to challenge you. It's going to move you inside and challenge your limiting beliefs, expand those beliefs and see where it takes you. And I look forward to hearing the fun stories you have to share with me. Back to Nandita.
What can I say? It was absolutely amazing. It was really, really nice. It was BPO, best possible outcome. It was truly the best, the BPO we could have had in our session today. It was full of energy, full of possibilities, and full of expansive thinking, and everything that we could have actually thought. So all these questions that we kind of we had kind of collated for a couple of days prior to this session were already answered.
Oh, lovely.
Most of them were already answered, except one of them, and that is being my phone's been buzzing. That please ask this question. So I don't know whether it's answered in entirety or not, but I'm sure you can take it on.
Ask.
A constant dilemma that we mostly face is like a two-option dilemma. One is to enjoy this transient present, to indulge in the moment, what they call live for today, our YOLO life, or save for the future, worry about what's going to happen, and worry about what lies ahead. So how do I end up choosing one over the other?
Great question. Yeah, I would. This is also a question people talk about. Being in the present versus having goals, and looking to the larger vision that you have. And to me, this is actually a false dichotomy. I imagine some of you know how to drive.
Yeah.
Or at least you've sat in the car with somebody else driving. I think women are good backseat drivers as well.
Drivers also.
Yeah, it's like, what are you talking about? So you know how to drive. So when you drive, as a good driver, your attention is in the front on the road, what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Of course, some of you are on your mobile phone while driving, but most of you are looking at the road in front of you. But also, you know where you're going, right? So in a car has a rear view mirror, and we have the road in front of you, and then you have the destination in mind where you're going. There is no contradiction between having a destination and also having my eyes in front and also looking at the rear view mirror once in a while. So my formula is, once in a while, look at the rear view mirror, side view mirror. Whenever you're changing lanes, whenever some turn is coming, you should look at the rear view mirror, side view mirror. That's appropriate. Reflect. Have a destination in mind. What kind of destination? Something that excites you, where your deepest gladness meets the world's greatest hunger. See, life is not just about contentment. Life is also about expansion and vision. Contentment by itself, before you know it, will slip into stagnation. Because human beings are designed to grow. Human beings are not designed for comfort. We're designed for growth. That comfort's going to start chewing at your soul, right? Swami Chinmayananda had a very powerful statement. He said, I shall do things for the maximum happiness, for the maximum people, for the maximum time. Very interesting vision. So his vision was, his why was maximum happiness for maximum people for maximum time. And that's what made him do whatever he did. My vision is, how can I plant incorruptible seeds of awakening in everybody that interacts with me personally or impersonally, directly or indirectly? How can I plant incorruptible seeds of awakening that any encounter with me leads to a kind of deep transformation, whether they realize it or not? Now that becomes my why, right? And that'll get expressed in 1,000 different ways. So I believe you should be contented. At the same time, you should also have a vision. You should have something that expands you and stretches you. Otherwise, you're going to slip into stagnation before you know it, right? And you will be jealous of people. Unknowingly, you'll judge people who are actually doing more things than you. So, and of course, what exactly that looks like, that's on each one of us. So there's no contradiction between having a goal, having a vision. And I don't think you have to get stressed out about saving. Why not do it in a joyful way? Why not have a healthy relationship with money? My mother was, some years back, because my mother being a businesswoman, she had a very different style of working with money and investments than I do. She has a very logical way. And I do things in my own way, which is also kind of, I'm much more intuitive about it. And she was criticizing me the way I do it. And my brother said to her, Mom, Whatever he's doing is working. Let him do it. Why are you trying to impose your ideas? Why do we impose our ideas? We all have different style. My mother's style is totally valid. That's her style. So don't get stuck on to what I'm doing or you're doing. You find your own unique blueprint. You find your own style that matches your values. How much you have to save, how much you have to invest, how much you have to contribute. You think of that for yourself that works for you. And let it be an intuitive decision more than some kind of a decision somebody else is enforcing onto you. And if you're in touch with your gratitude and contentment, if you're in touch with a larger vision, with your larger why, that proportion will come to you. It'll be very natural. It'll be right for you. And you should trust that. And if it doesn't work, no problem. Tweak it, change it. Look at it as a big experiment. That's what I would recommend.
Excellent. And what an analogy. The driving car, focusing on the forward, whereas having a great view of the rear view. Excellent. Wonderful. And with that, I think all my other questions are completely redundant because you've already answered them in the wonderful session that we just witnessed.
There's a nice question by Rajita. Won't you be disappointed if after all the manifestation affirmations, you do not get what you reasonably want? So remember this. Remember this statement by Harivansh Rai Bachchan, which I love. He says, "Man chahi ho to acha, na ho to aur bhi acha." It's my favorite line. So if you get what you want, that's good. If you don't get what you want, that's brilliant. How can it be brilliant? Remember the Raw family? They lost their business. They lost their home. They were living in a car. And they said that were the best 3 years of their life. So you might be surprised because the universe is not looking at your words and affirmation. The universe is tuning into your intention, is tuning into your frequency. There's a lovely statement that the universe never judges you because it knows your broadest intentions. So your broadest intentions may be more than you can mentally articulate. So don't be disappointed when that happens. Say that. You should say next. The next thing is going to happen. The next. Keep saying next. And you'll be amazed the amazing thing that happened. You should never be, nature overcompensates. One apple has got 10 seeds, but within each seed is an apple tree. And within each apple tree, there are 500 apples per season. And within each apple of those, there are another 10 seeds. So how can it be? One seed has an apple tree which gives 5,000 seeds every season. That's a lot of seeds because nature knows not every seed will come to fruition. It is very childish thinking that I made an affirmation, I made a prayer, it didn't happen. This is super childish thinking. Do not think like this. You should launch one single flower launches millions of pollen. One ejaculation launches 60 million sperm. Only one is needed, but 60 million sperm are released. Why so much? Nature massively overcompensates. You should also massively overcompensate. Don't get hung up on one or two things didn't happen. That's very, very, very small way of thinking. Man chahi ho to acha, na ho to aur bhi acha. Hasiba, kheliba, dariba dhyana.
That's fabulous. We have another question.
Shilpa, that'll be the last question because I've got another talk in a few minutes, but let's take the last question. Go ahead.
Oh, perfect. The last question is by Ambar Paridhi. How do we work on removing our inner mental blockages, especially if we have them from our childhood?
Very nice. So I recommend 2-3 methods. One of my favorites is called EFT or tapping. Go online, go to YouTube and type tapping or type EFT. It's not electronic funds transfer. It's emotional freedom techniques. It's a simple process where you tap certain points. That would be one of my favorites. Ho'oponopono is fantastic. It's H-O. Let me write it down for you. Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian technique. Google it, Ho'oponopono. It's a way of releasing unconscious blockages. And the third one would be the work of Byron Katie. So you question your thoughts and beliefs. The work of Byron Katie. And there are many more, like the Sedona method and so many more. There are literally dozens and dozens of techniques. It's less about what technique, but the one that you have affinity for. So try a few. Try some of these 3. Try EFT, try Ho'oponopono, try the work of Byron Katie. These 3 are very effective. The main point is you should have a sankalpa that you should have a real deep down burning desire. Now enough of this baggage. Chances are it's not even your baggage, it's ancestral stuff. How much of our stuff is actually ancestral? If the shape of your nose, the color of your skin, the color of your eyes is ancestral, even your money baggage, chances are it's ancestral. So you're cleaning up not only for yourself, you're cleaning up for your entire lineage. And especially women are also cleaning up for women throughout history. So you have to be a little patient with yourself and kind. You're dealing with a lot over here, right? So don't beat yourself up. You should celebrate the slightest progress. And I hope in FICCI that you really practice. You should all learn a nice word. The word is, let me type it out. the Pali word. It means Anumodana. Can you all say? Even if you're muted, just say it loud. Anumodana. Anumodana means I'm so happy for you in your happiness, in your success. So in at least in FICCI Flow Ludhiana, whenever someone does well and their business expands, instead of talking behind their back, oh, she's not paying taxes, or she does all these corrupt things, and oh, she doesn't, you should say Anumodana. How wonderful. I'm so happy for you. And that would be the best thing that can happen to FICCI Flow, where we all start doing Anumodana. Because I've done enough programs of FICCI Flow to know what happens behind the scenes in FICCI Flow, right? So I want there to be Anumodana and rejoicing and supporting and celebrating each other and not playing petty games. Otherwise, what's the point? It's just another fancy social group. Yes. And we want to change that. We want to encourage each other to be the best version of ourselves and build each other up instead of pulling each other down. And that would be the real power of your group.
Great. Thank you so much. Since we are pressed on time, ladies, we'll take only those many questions. We did have a little contest for 2 best questions. So Mrs. esteemed member, Mrs. Savitri Podar would be giving out a reward to the 2 questions that we've had a chance to ask today. I'd also like to call upon Mrs. Mridula Jain to just give us a little teaser about the fundraiser that we have tomorrow for Flow. And then we will thank Mr. Nitya for guiding us so beautifully today evening. Is Mrs. Mridula Jain here? Yes.
Auntie, we can't hear you.
You're on mute.
You have to.
Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
आपकी आवाज अभी भी नहीं आ रही है?
नहीं आ रही.
Some sound issue there.
Is it okay now?
Yes,
yes, it's okay now.
Perfect.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Perfect.
Thank you, thank you. मैं आपको अनुमोदना करती हूँ. सबसे पहले you started with Jains. I am a Jain. And I know where you are coming from. It is actually, you know, the mindset of the followers that one thing our Guruji says, everybody goes by it. It's really, that was the best example that you could have given. And Shantiji, what you have said about money part, of course, these are ladies, they are going to conclude and do everything. I am going to talk something else, but I can't resist my emotions as from your point of view. You know, we are all business person. I am myself a businesswoman. And when you say that you think that today you are earning this much, 1 year later you can earn this much, it's easier said than done. I must say, these days. Anyway, but your thought and what you wanted to convey to us has gone into us.
Yes.
I acknowledge that. Yes. What I am actually going to request all the ladies present here is that we have an association, rather a NGO, Public Police Foundation. Couple of members with the police, we made this organization a couple of years ago. It was just a stopgap arrangement between the police and the public. So that's what we are trying to do. Nice. And of course, everybody knows at this particular point of time, nobody is thinking of anything else other than helping our citizens, helping our administration, helping our government in putting up the right infrastructure where we all are lacking. The whole of country is lacking in the medical infrastructure, giving help to the COVID patients, means all different aspects. I don't need to elaborate. Each and every one of us has gone through it. Families have gone through it. I think every family has one or other member who has already traumatized, who has been suffering through it. So we together, we have shortlisted with the MOU with the CMC. That is the best hospital in town. Everybody knows it, the oldest. And we have actually taken a part of their building, which is not being used by them. And we are putting up minimum 50 to 100 beds in that hospital within these 10 days. Okay. So we have already given them the first check of around 30 lakhs. And we'll be putting up an oxygen plant also in their hospital, which they still do not have. Of course, all the kind of money will be flowing from different CSR, from business community, or from different NRIs also. We are looking forward to big help. So I'm just conveying my wishes to FICCI Flow ladies group.
Yes.
It's not that I'm asking you to do it. Maybe you can ask your other members or your other associations or whosoever at this point of time would like to donate. The donations are most welcome. That's what I'm asking. So whatever, whosoever, wherever, in what form, we are there to actually help setting up a facility. And the police administration, the CM is going to inaugurate it because we are already almost there. We are almost there. So that was my, actually I had already sent a request to Radhika, but Radhika asked me that, Auntie, it will be better that if you talk about it also. So that's why I am here. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Auntie. People has always stood up for all the good in the world. Thank you so much, Nitya Shanti ji. And just a quick thing, since the natural step from this event should be towards learning to manage our money. So Team Atmanirbhar has actually put together the next session with SM Tech Group so that to teach us more about financial literacy, about stock market, about investments. And that is the natural step, second step after this. I'll hand it over to Hina, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitya Shanti ji. The event has been truly, truly enlightening. I mean, you have changed, you have redefined our relationship with money. You have made us to love it and to be a little more playful about it. Trust me, we were never aware about this aspect to the entire thing. Thank you so much. So now I would not take much of your time. We would like to present you a green certificate. I would request IT team to kindly show the green certificate to Nitya Shanti ji, please. Well, the reason behind it is that we last Monday with you. And so
great
we
animation.
A tree in the name of your esteemed guest of honor.
Wow, so
Thank
nice.
you so much. Thank you. This green certificate testimony is the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love that. I have to come and see this tree someday.
You can just write the code on your phone and you can see the tree.
Oh, really? I'll do that. I'll check it out. So guys, I'd love to stay, but I have to rush. I have another session beginning. I just want to take a little break before I get to that. Okay. So lovely. Thank you. And we'll be connected. Lots of love.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Be well. Make a Mayurma with me. You learned Mayurma last time?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Make a big heart and multiply by infinity 3 times. And we say together, Mayurma.
Mayurma.
Lovely. Thank you for having me. Lots of love. Be well. Be well. Bye-bye.
Shilpa, please call Samriti to give the best.
Yes. Can we please have Mrs. Savitri Podar?
Hi, hi everyone. I'm Samriti Podar. Hope you're keeping safe and doing well in these troubled times. So I would love to firstly tell you a bit about our hamper, like what we'd be sending across the winner. And so basically we're a frozen food company and we've recently launched a new venture called Desi Chef, as we truly believe frozen food to be the future of the food industry, since nowadays everyone's life is on the fast track and everyone's either taking care of their homes or the work, or they're away from the family and friends. So it's more like a food solution to to your new lifestyle basically, and providing authentic recipes without compromising on nutrition or the food quality and hygiene. So all you have to do is store it at -18 degrees centigrades, and most of our products are also without any preservatives. So there are no preservatives, and freezing acts like as the natural preservation. And it's also, there's zero waste of food. So being sustainable right there nowadays. Also, let's focus on the products that we'd be sending across, which would be parathas, curries, snacks, and wraps. So we hope that this would, you would really like our products, and I hope to send you lots of food in the future as well. And the winner today is Mrs. Rajita Goyal. Congratulations, and please send us your details. We'd be happy to send across your hamper, let us know when and where to send it across. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for joining in.
Yes.
Everyone, thank you.
And if anybody is interested for the future Atmanirbhar prospects, please join our WhatsApp group. We already have 128 members. We are looking forward to more.
Shilpa, just circulate it once again, please.
I will be circulating it.
Radhika will be doing that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Radhika, good event, wonderful.
I know, I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of all of us. Anumodana is what I have right now. Last time it was so
fantastic job, girls. Fantastic, super proud. Fantastic job. What a brilliant event, you girls.
Yeah. What a brilliant event.
He spoke very well and
So good.
It was flawless.
To have a